is Jen. I'm the owner of Jen's Bagels and Pastries. It's a small batch wholesale bakery in Portland, Oregon. I'm making 100% sourdough bagels and cookies and other pastries as well. And I'm using all locally milled grains in Oregon. I didn't always want to be a baker. In high school, I wanted to be a horticulturist. I really liked working with plants, and I worked at a couple nurseries and farms, and I think probably like a year or two outside of high school, I just kind of grew out of it, I guess. And during that time, I had started baking a lot at home, and it just kind of became one of those things that just became like a normal routine in my life. So I kept doing it, and I really loved the challenge of it, and sort of like if you screwed something up in the recipe, you'd have to keep trying and keep trying until you got it right. And when you got it right, it was a really good feeling. So yeah, the passion, I really think it comes with how it makes me feel. Baking just makes me feel good, and I love to do it. It's something that just kind of came naturally to me, I think. My whole family, they're musicians, and I am as well, but it's not something that I wanted to like pursue, I guess. But baking was like, yeah, that's definitely what I wanted to pursue. And then I ended up moving here, I think it was November 2015, and I immediately started working at Bread and Ink Cafe. And I didn't know too much about bread when I moved here, but my boss, he taught me pretty much the basics of bread and baguettes and stuff like hamburger buns, and I also learned how to make bagels there, and that's kind of where the bagel obsession began. And I kept making bagels, and I kept trying to figure out the closest thing to an East Coast style bagel that I could get. And I got, pretty far into it. It was just commercially yeasted, but I was really happy with the recipe. And then I ended up meeting a very dear friend of mine. Her name's Adrian Hale, and she is a sourdough queen. And she basically converted my recipe to sourdough, 100% naturally leavened, so there's no commercial yeast in the bagels at all. And she also educated me on local flour, local grains. So I'm using Camas Country Mills flour. So it's grown and milled here in Oregon. And it's pretty much like, it's flour in its purest form. There's no weird ingredients. And it still has all like the minerals and nutrients in it, which is amazing. And so basically, I started making sourdough bagels. It took a while to get them to where I wanted them to be. I would say it probably took 3 or 4 months, and I'm still like, sometimes I'll like do something wrong, and it's like just the littlest thing can just totally screw it up. So yeah, basically I started just making them pretty regularly, and then I started like posting a lot on social media about it, on Instagram, and then I started to get orders, and I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of like picking up. People like my bagels. And then I ended up meeting Jen Lewis, who owned the bakery space that I'm in right now. And she was like, I have a space that you could rent out if you wanted to. And at the time, it was just too much money. I didn't have any capital or anything. So I ended up meeting Courtney from Wild Bread, and we were eating lunch one day, and I mentioned the space, and she was also looking to grow her business, and we had been chatting about it for a bit, so I mentioned it, and pretty much, I would say like a month later, we signed the lease to the place. I had to do a GoFundMe fundraiser to just get enough to just move in, licenses, insurance. So yeah, I'm really thankful for all the people that donated and believed in me, because now I'm 7.5 months in and I'm doing pretty well, I would say. with baking, how I figured out it was my passion, it was like, it was something that I didn't realize at first. You know, it was something that I started to do every day, and I really enjoyed it, but I didn't think of it as something that I was going to do. Like, if you had told me, like, in high school, if you had told me I was going to be a baker, like, I would have been like, what? I don't know. I don't think I have that talent. But, yeah, I think if you want to find your passion, even if you had already gone to school for something and you thought that was your passion, but then you realize, I actually don't want to do this. I mean, the only advice I can really say is, like, try different things. Like, find hobbies that you like to do, like whether it be drawing or working on cars. I mean, I don't know the next thing about working on cars, but, you know, find what you like to do, and if you can try and get, I don't know, either take a class, it doesn't have to be college, but, you know, you can take a class, or maybe get an internship, maybe even get a job. I mean, it's easy to get a job in the food industry. You know, the turnover rate is crazy, but I think that's where I got lucky, not having to go to school for what I'm doing, because it's really easy to get a job in bakeries and cafes and get the hands-on experience. Sometimes there are days where I'm down and out and, like, you know, upset over something, or, you know, maybe I burned too many things or something, and I have to put myself back into reality of, like, this is what you wanted to do for so long. Like, stay focused, you're in it, and you're pretty darn lucky that you get to do this, especially because, you know, I'm not working anywhere else. I mean, I am working like 8 to 12 hour days, sometimes more, but I think I'm really lucky, you know, that I'm able to sustain myself with the business. So I work, you know, I'm supplying coffee shops at, you know, with other small business owners. So they're really understanding in, like, you know, mental health and taking days off, and, you know, they've all been super understanding, and they're like, you need a day off, so take a day off, because it's just me doing everything. So for probably the last 6 months, I didn't take a day off. So I was like, yeah, I need to take a day off. So yeah, I usually try to fit a lot of friends in on my Saturdays off. But I only work at night, so I do have a good portion of the day. But sometimes, most of the time, that's spent going shopping for, you know, the bakery. And I don't have a food purveyor yet, so I should probably figure that out soon. But I do all the shopping myself as well, so that can take a lot of time out of your day, for sure. But I do think that the work-life balance, it's working for me. And, like, I know when you're a small business owner and you start a business, you have to know, like, if you're all in, it's gonna be an everyday thing. So yeah, that's one thing that you have to just accept. It's like, you know, if you're doing it and it's small and you're starting from, you know, pretty much nothing, it's probably going to be like an everyday thing, which is fine. I knew that from the beginning. But it's nice to have a day off, for sure. So I guess when I am able to hire employees, I want to treat them the way that they should be treated, because I worked in many cafes and bakeries where I felt like I was being taken advantage of. I think that I am a really hard worker, and I truly believe that if you treat your employees with respect and you pay them a living wage and you give them the time off that they want, they're going to care more and they're gonna work harder, and they're gonna want to put out a good product, and that reflects on you as an owner and your business. So, you know, a lot of people in Portland, business owners, inspire me to hopefully one day be a really good boss to employees. That's definitely one of my hopes, is that I'm looked at as well, a decent human being and a good boss. So my website is jensbagels.com, and on Instagram you can find me at Jen's Bagels and Pastries. I'm hoping for a name change though at some point. It's not going to be anything too crazy, but that's all I could come up with in the beginning, so that's what I'm going with right now.